All right, let's start. My name is Yuri. I am Chief of Technology of Peerwith.com. I'm with the company from more or less the very beginning. And I'm going to show you today how the newly introduced in August Cockpit application works, what it does, and what can it mean for your company or your institution. I'm sure you're familiar with the general Peerwith concept, which is a marketplace for researcher services. We connect from one hand researchers who need some sort of work done, like language editing, like scientific editing, statistical work. And from the other hand, your peers, researcher peers, who are familiar with this sort of work and who are willing to help fellow researchers to get published and in generally help them to achieve their goal in publishing articles, publishing manuscripts. Peerwith Cockpit is a new application which sits on top of the Peerwith marketplace, and it extends it in a certain number of ways. To start with, it is a subscription service. So Peerwith is not a free application. Peerwith is a subscription, a low-cost subscription service which extends primarily the private marketplace. What is a private marketplace? Private marketplace is a part of Peerwith which is reserved for an institution. Let's say you are an educational or a research institution, and you allow your researchers, your colleagues, place jobs at service requests at peerwith.com. You do it for a certain time, and that's exactly how it worked for the, let's say, previous couple of years. Your colleagues post service requests at peerwith.com, and then they send you a declaration saying, I hired a very capable language editor at peerwith.com, and please pay this note from him, pay his declaration of $50 or $500 or $5,000, whatever. At the end of the month, you receive quite a lot of this declaration, and it can be quite complicated to just process all these notes, all these declarations by your administration. So what you do then is you create your own private marketplace, and this marketplace is centered around your organization. So you decide who is allowed to join this marketplace, and you decide who is allowed to declare their invoices for the work done at the Peerwith website. So Peerwith is a low-cost subscription service aimed primarily at the administrators of institutions such as educational and research organizations. So what does it do? It helps you to, basically it alleviates a lot of pain for you for running your, for allowing your researchers to work with Peerwith. So at first you can manage your users, your organization users. That means that you can decide for yourself who is allowed to do what on Peerwith. Then you track their activity. You see what kind of jobs they post at Peerwith, and you can track and manage budget. It means that you can set up your budget, you can set up your goals, and you can actively decide who is allowed to post requests at Peerwith, and you can decide whether you are willing to pay for these projects. And at the end, at the bottom line, Peerwith Cockpit simplifies the invoicing process by aggregating all those single invoices into one bigger one. You just get one invoice per month, and it saves you quite a lot of transaction costs, and it saves you just basically a lot of work. How does it work? If you are a Cockpit user at Peerwith, let's say the Cockpit administrator user at Peerwith, you just get another menu item on your dashboard, which leads you to the Cockpit. And that's more or less that. You get instant access to all the Cockpit features at once at the moment when it is enabled. How does it work further? So let's start with managing private marketplace. You can have your private marketplace for your institution, just decorate it with your logo and providing some additional information about your institution. Then you probably want to invite your researchers to join the marketplace. You can do it by creating a user group at Peerwith at the website. Then you manage user applications, saying that let's say Jong is allowed to post the jobs at Peerwith through our user group, and Mary is not allowed to do it. You will get user statistics. You can view projects which are running on the private marketplace, and you can get access to all the archive projects. To manage the budget and track costs, you can prepay your budget and then track the remainder of your budget through the Cockpit. You can approve and decline budget requests. You can create reports and view per researcher share of the costs. As I said, it simplifies administration overhead. It allows for collecting invoicing for several suppliers. It removes a huge deal. It removes a lot of transaction costs from dealing with small, especially trans-border payments, and you can get a very clear costs overview of the Peerwith work. So let's start with an example. How can users create the user group? We actually do it for the users. The process looks. We do it for the institution. We set it up, and we can set up a short URL. Let's say Erasmus Medical Center will get /ErasmusMC, and your own institution will get something like /your own institution short link. So it helps your users to find this page and access it easily. So the institution creates a user group. You invite your colleagues, you invite your researchers to join the user group on Peerwith. You receive the application. The subscription form is open. That means that you can get unwanted people in your user group, and you would like to decide, and you are able to decide who is entitled to work within your user group and who is not. So the Cockpit manager reviews the applications and decides whether the application is approved or rejected. The approved users will be able to apply for budget for the service requests. And the Cockpit manager will be able to track their projects and access all the archives and start the aggregated invoicing. If the user applies to your user group and you reject, as a Cockpit manager, you reject his or her application, they will still retain the full Peerwith access. The only difference between the approved users and rejected users is that they will not be entitled to apply for your institutional budget, and they will be never a part of the aggregated invoicing. It is possible for the rejected users to come back, let's say, at the moment when you change your mind and just rejoin. So how does it work? I'm now logged in at the cockpit at peerwith.com. I'm logged in as a Mary administrator, and I see the users, which I see a screen which consists of 2 panes. On the left, we see the new users. On the right, we see the existing users. And we see that there are 2 users, Henry Johnson and Wilma Bentley, who applied to my user group. So I can say that I would like to grant Henry, because I know him for years and I know he's working for our institution. I would like to accept his application. I don't know Wilma, and I think that I will skip her application. I will say, sorry, Wilma, I will not approve your application, and I can reject her mail. The moment you accept or reject the application, the users will get an email saying that you are successfully added or reject. Your application has been successfully approved or rejected. So they get the email. Next step is to create a budget request within Peerwith. How does it work? The process is more or less an extension on the regular Peerwith workflow. So the client, which is also a researcher, usually posts service requests. A service request at the same moment, Peerwith sends email notifying all matching experts saying that there is a new request waiting for them at the Peerwith website. They log in. They review the request, and they can decide whether they would like to quote or not on the request. If they quote, they join the conversation. They can exchange messages with the client, and at a certain point, they provide a final quote. At this very moment, Peerwith will notify the client about the incoming quote. And the client can choose one of the experts when they agree on a price. The moment the connection is made between the expert and one of the experts, Peerwith notifies all participants saying that you won this bid, or I'm sorry, we granted this job to someone else. At this very moment, instead of paying for this request for this project as it used to be before, the client just submits a budget request. So there is a big pink button saying, please, I would like to apply for a piece of budget, and the cockpit will notify the institution manager, the cockpit manager, that there is a new request incoming. The cockpit manager will then take a look at the conversation, take a look at the price, take a look at the topic of the request, what it's all about, and then decide whether to approve or to reject the request. In case the request is approved, the institution will pick the final bill, and the bill will be added to the aggregated invoice. In case if the request is rejected, nothing really awful happens. That doesn't mean that the request disappears from Peerwith. It just means that the author of the request, the client, have to self-finance this project at Peerwith. That's how it used to be until now. So that's just a regular way. So what we offer is with this cockpit workflow, we offer a shortcut for clients to let's say to apply for the budget, to get the finance for the job. Let's take a look how it works. So I'm logged in as a Joe researcher, and I'm seeing my dashboard. I click at the request a service button on my dashboard, and I provide some information. In this case, I'm looking for language editing in health sciences with some odd number of words, about 6,500 words. My level of English is, I would say, intermediate. I'm okay with it, and I'm looking for. Providing some instructions for the expert to get information about to convey more information about the project. In reality, it is more complex than that, but this is just the essence of it. So I'm saying that my deadline is 8th of September. In this case, it's been a month ago, but it's just a demo. And my budget for this job is 600 US dollars. I click next. If I have a discount code, I can enter a discount code. That means that the final price will be lower than the price. That means that Peerwith will pick up this discount. We don't do it right now. I'm just continuing further. Peerwith shows some experts which are matching to the profile, like language editing and health science, and offers me to send an invitation to these experts explicitly. I'm not going to do it. I just click next, and you see that my dashboard has now one more project, which is called Health Sciences Language Editing, with my description, with my number of words, and so on and so forth. That's more or less the part of the client until now. Let's see what the expert sees. The expert logs into the Peerwith following the email invitation, takes a look at the language editing project, clicks View Request. The request is opened. I can now join the conversation. I see that it's language editing, it's my subject area. Deadline is acceptable, the total number of words is okay, and the budget is within realistic expectations. I quote a little bit lower, $550 in this case. I agree with the terms of service, and I click Contact Client. Let's send our quote. Our quote is sent. Now the client receives an email which says that a Jane scientist quoted on your project. I'm going to the same Peerwith dashboard. I open the project which we are talking about, my latest project. I see the quotes. I see that Jane scientist quoted $550 on the budget of 600. In reality, it's much more complicated than that, but they just give you an idea how it looks like without too many words. So I say, okay, I'm okay with it. Please, Jane, please go ahead and do this project for me. I click OK. I sent a short message to Jane, and the connection is made between me as a Joe researcher and an expert, which is Jane scientist at the moment. Usually you would see a button here saying pay for your project, and you would be asked to provide your credit card details or your PayPal account. Instead of that, you see a request approval button. So what I'm going to do now is I will just request an approval. All the financials are already in the system. So what we need to do is just click request approval. The Cockpit manager will receive a notification, and we can proceed further. This is more or less the email which the administrator will get, something like Joe researcher requested budget approval. You can approve or decline it. Please visit Peerwith, log in to see the details. It's what I'm going to do. So I'm now Mary, and I'm the Cockpit administrator. I log into my Peerwith account, I click on Cockpit, and I see on the tab requests, I see some things. What I see here the graph which shows the number of requests, the number of connections over time. I see the total budget. I see the budget which has been spent. I see the budget, the remainder of the budget. And I see that Joe researcher requested an approval, for this language editing health sciences job. What I can do is I can open the conversation. I can see the conversation between Jane and Joe. I can see the price. I can see the deadline. I can see the total budget provided by Joe, and can see the quote of Jane. And what I can do then, I can either accept or reject this request. In this case, I'm going to accept it. And you see that the job disappears from the left tab, from the incoming approval requested tab, and it shows now in the all request tabs. At the same moment, Joe, the researcher, the client, will get an email saying that the budget request has been granted. So they can go ahead to the in this case to Jane to proceed with the job. So I'm sure that the institution will pick up the bill. So that's more or less that. It's very simple. At the end of the month, the institution of a Mary administrator will receive an aggregated invoice, which will contain all the details per project, and it will show the prepaid budget. It will show the remainder. It will show some graphs. It will show some additional information if it is required. So that's more or less that. Let me reiterate what the Peerwith is, just to say it one more time. It's just a low-cost subscription service. We ask as a small amount from the institution for an unlimited number of users, an unlimited number of researchers, and that means that more or less the price is friendly. You can contact me to discuss the details, but that's it. So it allows the institution to manage their fellow researchers at Peerwith. It allows to track the activity. It allows to track and manage the use of the budget, and it greatly simplifies the invoicing projects. If you have more questions, just take a look at our blog at blog@peerwith.com. There are some articles about the cockpit. Or you can contact me directly. It is Yuri at peerwith.com. I would be more than happy to answer any of your questions. If you have any questions now, just feel free to ask them. I would be really happy to answer them. Okay, no questions. Not a problem at all. So feel free to drop me a line. I will answer any questions within a day. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope you understood better what the cockpit is and what cockpit can do for your institution. Thank you very much.